Gailin's knees knocked together in fear as she stepped shakily up onto the gallows. "You will not be frightened," she ordered herself silently. The gathered crowd of gawking villagers swam before her eyes, making her dizzy. She tried not to look at the two other men who already swung from the crossbeam. One still kicked and jerked obscenely. But the clinical part of Gailin's brain knew that was because the hangman had moved the knot to the back of his neck instead of off to the side where the abrupt fall would instantly snap his neck. Instead, the pathetic man must strangle to death in slow agony. Which would it be for her? Snapped neck or slow, torturous strangling? Of course, she had not murdered anyone, nor raped the hangman's daughter like the strangling criminal. No, her crime was different. She had tried, and failed, to help a broken leg. A village draftsman had been pinned by the falling of his collapsing cart, and the rest of his team had extricated him. The men had brought him to her cabin on a stretcher with a nasty compound fracture of his upper leg. Given Gailin's reputation for having a healing touch, often brought her the sick to tend, but this was her first case of dealing with an otherwise healthy man. She had treated breaks before, but not when the bone was completely out of position. This did not bode well for her. She probably didn't have the physical strength to even muscle the bone into place, and had warned the victim's distraught wife of this possibility. Then, foolishly, she had tried to set the bone. The positioning of the break went as well as could be expected, but the marrow of the bone must have gotten into his bloodstream, poisoning him. He had died in a terrible fever in Gailin's cabin 2 days later, and when the men of the village came to collect the draftsman's body, they also came to arrest her for witchcraft. No trial for a witch, for she would put a spell on you. How else would her aging grandmother have survived so long? How else would she and those close to her have survived without a mark the pox that dealt the blow to the town that winter? Gailin must be a witch, and had deliberately poisoned the draftsman. And so the next day she was to swing from the gallows like the two other criminals. Drake could not resist a hanging, and this one boasted 3 ropes, already set on the gallows. That his prey had come to this town and blended into the crowd was convenient, for now Drake got to enjoy the spectacle and follow his enemy into town. Perhaps the local villagers would let him dispose of the bodies. No, best not get involved. He needed to follow the mountain man, and nothing must distract him from that pursuit. If Drake got to watch the execution, so much the better. He could observe the mountain man easily enough from the audience and not miss a bit of the event. The entire village must have come out for this execution. Drake watched with interest as the first criminal, hands bound behind him, was ushered up onto a stool and then had the noose placed around his neck.